arrival of the satellite as a carrier medium may have led to the revolution in the telecommunications industry. The momentous innovation, however, does not match the liberalization of the telecommunications sector in Uganda sometime 30 years after independence. This transformed the facets of communications to give the sector a wider reach and extended benefits of technology to many end users.
The real evolution for telephony came with when MTN launched in Uganda. Because up till when MTN launched in Uganda in 1998, because we had many more fixed lines than mobile lines, there were not 5,000 lines in the country by that time. And by the end of that year, we should have already, according to my memory, I think we had surpassed 10,000.
The liberalization of Uganda's economy was an upshot that created an enabling environment which worked for alternative service providers in making available services. State-controlled systems gave way to additional service providers in the process, breaking monopolies that up to then kept services as a preserve of a few citizens. This had only afforded the market limited or no options at all. Up to the time, traditional postal services and broadcasting systems had been part of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting.
The private sector was allowed to come in and play that role also in telephony. That's why in Uganda, UPTC was split and became UTL, which was a government body, but then a company like MTN came, which was purely private sector. And since then, further liberalization, all these other companies came in, Worried, Orange, and the others. And even this happened in the late 90s, 98. And even in other developed countries like Britain and so on, the same thing happened. They liberalized and private sector came around the same time.
In 1995, the consequent period after licensing a second national operator led to the introduction and immediate circulation of mobile telephony and thereafter other mobile services.
High-speed broadband access network started with 3G, real broadband. There was WiMAX introduced by MTN in 2006 or thereabout, but it was not, one could not feel the speed because first of all we had on a satellite backbone to the internet. The speeds were low and it was dimensioned to carry low speed. We had ADSL from Uganda Telecom. ADSL is supposed to be a fast internet connection. It's supposed to be able to give you 10 meg quite easily. But we didn't even have 10 meg on the backbone as a country. It's giving way to the broadband mobile technologies of 3G, LTE. The 3G technologies are what you hear people call HSUPA, HSPA, HSPA Plus, and the revolution from those is going to be LTE.
Information technology converged with communications technology to create modern innovations, and this brought forth the information and communications technologies.
With mobile phones, the technology was different. All you needed was a mast, and that mast could serve so many people. And to put up a mast will take next to no time. Compare that with putting wires to everybody's home. Now you have a mast and it actually caters for the area around it. And you have another mast and so on. So the cellular component generates the ability for the whole nation or the whole area to actually be connected. And because of this connectivity in terms of mobile phones and computers, that convergence which gives us ICT has created a very new phenomenon and great opportunities for management, social interaction, business, and all.
There arose a need for apex leadership and policy regulation, which led to the creation of the Uganda Communications Commission. In June 2006, 10 years after the liberalization of the sector, government established the Ministry of Information and Communications Technology. It was accorded the mandate of providing strategic and technical leadership, overall coordination, support and advocacy on all matters of policy, laws, regulations and strategy for the information and communications technology sector to enable the country achieve its national development goals. The ministry undertook many ICT initiatives, including the adoption and implementation of ICT projects. The National Backbone Infrastructure was established as an e-government project.
The ICT ministry is responsible for, as you know, telecoms. It's responsible for IT, the IT side. It's responsible for broadcasting, the technical side of broadcasting, and then postal services. So within each of those, we set up a number of projects and a number of initiatives to develop the sector. One of these was actually the full liberalization of the sector in 2006, which generated now the new telephone companies which are here. So full liberalization of the sector, and the figures grew from 1.5 to 15 million now. They accelerated, and others in terms of human resource development initiatives for generating facilities for people to utilize their ICT through business process outsourcing strategies. In terms of infrastructure, we also worked on the national fiber optic backbone, which is supposed to lay fiber optic across the entire nation to bring down costs of voice and data communications.
Government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Information and Communications Technology, has attempted to spearhead the development of the national data transmission backbone infrastructure and electronic government infrastructure. The project that is ongoing is designed to complement the private sector initiatives, to relieve the acute shortage of bandwidth, and takes the form of public-private partnership, whose ultimate benefits, if realized, will be the consumer.
The ICT sector is an extremely dynamic sector. A lot of new things are coming every day, every hour, every minute. Policies are coming up from government. The private sector is expanding. A new ICT policy is in the making. Young people in particular, in universities and even the secondary schools, and those who have graduated are actively involved in innovations. A number of them are already getting substantial incomes because of their innovations and applications which they have developed. Government is embarking on a big program of BPO, business process outsourcing, where a lot of jobs are going to be done in various centers, ICT centers, the jobs originating from within Uganda and also originating from outside Uganda. So this is a dynamic sector which is expanding rapidly with investments by the private sector, by government, and new policy directions by government.
The established structure levels in the ICT sector are at 3 levels, namely policy level, regulatory level, and the operational level.
The ICT sector has, within a limited number of years, say within the last 15, 20 years, moved from a few people, 20,000 or 30,000, that had access to telephones, to now 16, 17 million people who have access to telephones. This number is going to increase even more and more. The same number that have telephones now can get access to other applications that are on the mobile phone. Gradually, the quality of telephone is going to increase, and the telephone has now become a mobile application. Let me say that this sector is transforming, is expanding, and is now becoming a major tool of social, cultural, and economic transformation of our country.
It's it's been shown in white paper and after white paper, whether it's GSM-A or Nokia or ITU, that if you will abolish that so-called luxury tax, the penetration of your mobile phones skyrockets, as happened in Kenya in 2009 when they abolished that tax. It's 30%. We have people smuggling suitcases full of mobile phones. They're new. They just go to the airport. They don't even have to get out of the airport. They just catch their next flight back to Kampala loaded with mobile phones. You can get the Android phones for less than $100 over there. And how much you pay for them here?
Policies and regulations were established, but some, however, still limit the introduction and use of these technologies.
I fully support the removal of taxes from handsets because I believe that will be one way of government generating more revenues because more people will be able to access telephones and therefore talking and therefore pay tax because of the calls they will be making instead of blocking them at the level of the telephone gadgets.
Customs duty on imported equipment, license fees and taxes, especially on handsets, makes the cost of using wireless technologies high.
In terms of data connectivity, again, issues the government has put in place, for instance, the fiber optic backbone and the other backbones which the private sector has put in place. These have brought down the costs of data communications, including the submarine cables which are at the coast, at the East African coast. So you find that where just a few years ago, if I may use maybe a minor technical term, 2 megabits per second, if you were to pay for 2 megabits per second, it costed about $5,000 for 2 megabits per second. Today, it costs a few $100s for the same bandwidth.
Government can play a positive role in promoting the applications of wireless technology and the related potential advantages.
If we look at the curve, the cost curve over time, if you look at the initial mobile phones in Uganda, you needed $2,000 up front just to have a mobile phone which was as big as a block. And there was no internet access, nothing, $2,000. But now if you see the trend as how we're going down, and given the amount of investment in the sector and the competitiveness in the sector, we've got a number of firms a number of companies which are providing services. You find that the price relative to where we were just a few years ago, the trend is a downward trend in the price, in the cost, and it will continue going down and further down. When we talk about voice telephone, in network calls, in other words, a call within the same network. You see, the UTL, for instance, they will have, if you're calling within UTL, then you have maybe 5 people you can call free of charge. And that is zero cost. You can't get any lower than that. And other networks are like that. So in-network calls are almost zero.
The other critical change here is the migration from analog to digital broadcasting that will essentially alter broadcasting in line with international regulations. Digital migrations aims to provide choice to consumers with the different service providers through interoperability of systems. It will ensure the presence of a competitive market, the efficient use of the spectrum, and improve signal while also uplifting content.
Programs are going to have content that will be able to reach the ordinary listeners and viewers on television in local languages. And the second component is that the universal primary and the universal secondary education are now readily available. So the number of people who will be able to access English programs is also inevitably going to increase. But the critical point is that we would like content that will reach all the people of Uganda in their languages and also in English language, and for that matter in Swahili, which is also now a national language.
Postal codes are meant to be harmonized regionally, and the National Identity Cards project is meant to implement a biometric and central data management and identity card registration. It aims to create an easy identification of Ugandans on the government payroll, social security, police and the army, and within the East African community. There are other projects that are geared towards connectivity for the education sector.
Today, if you take the education system, access to education materials are mostly via the classroom. Put communication aspect in there, and you can therefore access the information, education information, well outside classrooms. In fact, with the advent of smartphones, you can access it right at wherever you are on the simple device called a smartphone, because of the computing power that has been brought from a big computer onto that small device.
These have included the set-up computer centers and internet points of presence around the country. These have provided computer literacy and materials development training for teacher educators. It has included the provision of multimedia materials that educators can use in selected core subjects.
ICTs provide employment opportunities. They provide new opportunities that haven't been here before. They also, if you take, you consider the financial services in Uganda today. Orange has not introduced financial services yet, but we shall do so very soon and in a more efficient way than they are done today. But if you take the financial services that, with the spicing that has been brought about by the ICT vis-a-vis mobile money, the accessibility is much faster. The transactions happen much more quickly, which means business grows more quickly, and this grows the economy. It is a known fact, and there are statistics to show that the penetration of telephony and the penetration of internet access grows the economy. It's a feedback effect. You grow the economy, you grow the communications infrastructure, you grow ICT. In turn, you grow the economy. It just keeps growing itself like that.
There have also been efforts to provide donated computers to schools, plus capacity building support to recipient local partners, done by World Computer Exchange in partnership with local organizations under a network called iNetwork.
We want to make change. We want to improve people's lives. We want even to improve the lives of the middlemen and their families. Get them involved in something much more interesting and a lot more honorable than ripping off the farmers. That the middleman has taken their price, he bought their harvest for such and such a price, and he takes it to the next big town and sells it for twice as much. And that is not cool, not anymore. We have means of distribution that are a lot more effective. And this is one of the things that we can do with mobile applications. And everybody benefits. It's a win-win for everybody, including the middleman.
Working with stakeholders, government has availed computers to different districts and expanded the reach of information and communications technologies.
The critical point in the ICT policy is connectivity reaching all the people of Uganda, either in their respective homes or community centers or schools or offices. With the people of Uganda being connected, then government programs and services can be delivered through the internet, through the computer. Of course, apart from that, we have logistical issues to sort out first. For example, the national backbone infrastructure reaches main centers, but it's true, you need more investment to ensure that this connectivity reaches the rural areas and the urban underprivileged areas.
We are finding all kinds of ways of making our lives easier through these devices. We're finding prices for quality products that beat the socks off of anything you can find at a Chumi or a ShopRite or Nakamat. You got people coming in from up country. I sometimes get these SMSs on my phone. So and so he's come. Fresh eggs, village-made cheeses, goat cheese. Come to catch the sun in Bugalobi on Friday after 2 o'clock and have fun. And there's so much potential, you know, for cutting out the middleman, letting these entrepreneurs who want to sell their village produce, and the people living in Kampala. Certainly the middle-class people, they're driving around with their four-wheel drive cars. They've got these devices. They just got their message on the phone. Well, you don't even have to have a smartphone to benefit from that.
E-health initiatives in Uganda are aimed at improving healthcare delivery through continuing medical education for rural health workers.
E-health is just an enabler of health service and healthcare delivery.
E-health is in general focused on improving healthcare delivery through continuing medical education for health workers by using ICTs.
Right now, there is a national rollout of what we call DHIS2, Digital Health Information System version 2. It is replacing what we have been using formerly, the paper-based health management information system. As I talk today, DHIS2 has covered all the 112 districts in the country.
The major focus is on gathering and repackaging high-quality health information for dissemination through ICTs, and training in use of basic ICTs is provided.
It has had all the district teams and the regional referral hospital trained. The staffs that are responsible for health information management have been trained, and data has been entered for 2011. So in a way, that is one application, one e-health application that has worked across the country.
There are various e-health initiatives that have been done by policymakers in government and other stakeholders. Some include the use of mobile health platforms to efficiently deliver targeted messages to defined end users.
I'm really glad to see the Honourable Minister attending as a private person, because he doesn't want to be limited by having to be the guest of honor and give the opening remarks in his capacity as the minister. He's got his ear to the ground. He's picking up some things, and he's actually asked us to organize meetings for him to better understand what is the state of play in this really exciting new area of mobile applications.
And these messages vary from reminders about antenatal care to educative text messages on immunization, HIV/AIDS treatment and others.
The Ministry of Health is rolling out what we call M-Track. It's a mobile tracking system. It has brought the 033B form of HMIS, Health Management Information System, and put it on a mobile phone, such that facilities and districts can report using their phones on the targeted diseases on a weekly basis. It doesn't stop at reporting on only the diseases of epidemic potential that we've been tracking using that form, but it is also tracking the ACTs, the artemisinin combined therapy, the drugs that we use for malaria, that is coartem and duocortexin. And it is also surveilling the use of the lab in diagnosing malaria, because it does analysis.
The different aspects of ICTs and the information society underscore its service. It is thought that wireless technologies can play an important role in social and economic development by making the exchange of information faster, cheaper, and more widely accessible.
In Uganda, the availability of phones is probably very high and higher than any of our neighbors, Tanzania or Kenya. For the community, we have at the Ministry of Health identified a team in the community that we call the village health teams. And these village health teams have they have worked with them and identified people who have some basic literacy capabilities that can compile paper-based reports. So we are trying to integrate the community aspect or the community system strengthening aspect of reporting